Hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
welcome back, everybody, to another episode. What's going to be a great episode, I have a feeling, of Paranormal the New Normal. As always, I am your host, Jeremy, here trying to, make the world seem a little more normal. It doesn't ever really happen. Yeah, we know that's a lie by this point. But we are here anyway, and as always, I bring a guest with me on this perilous path. And my guest tonight, I've been looking forward to this one for months, folks, so you're going to enjoy this. My guest is Claudia Rosenhouse Ralken, a master DreamBirth imagery practitioner. And I said that slow just so I didn't fuck it up. But I swear to God, folks, I'm not 100% sure what that exactly is, but we're going to find out what that is tonight. And I'm excited about it. First things first, though. Welcome, Claudia. How you doing tonight?
Um, Great. I'm good. I'm curious about what's going to happen.
Oof. I mean, yeah. Oh, on this show, you never freaking know. But, well, let's start off simple. What brought you into the spiritual path that basically led you to doing what you do now?
That's really, really, really good question. Oh boy. Okay. Um, all right. I was a body worker, craniosacral therapist, and Reiki and Alexander technique. And that was, I would say, I've had many lifetimes during I was a dancer, I was a computer programmer, I was a teacher. And it, when I was hating programming, a good friend of mine said, "Oh, I'm studying Alexander technique." Now, my mind just went, oh, this is what I need to learn. I had known about it from dance world. And I told my friend I want to study it. She says, "You're crazy. I just mentioned it." I said, "No, I know, but it's what I'm supposed to do." So it was a sort of a knowing. I called up her teacher who said, "Well, you have to, be my client for a year before I'll let you study." So I did. Any case, that was really, I think, the start of the work that I do. But all right, fast forward. I got late.
Well,
Go ahead.
before we fast forward for really fast, because I'm going to forget these questions if I don't ask them. I just want to say one, big supporter of Reiki. I worked with a Reiki master for 6 months. I'm a big supporter of it. So my listeners already know how I feel about it. So I'm not going to go too into depth about it. But the Alexander technique, on the other hand, I can't say I've ever heard of that, and I'm kind of curious as to what it is.
It's interesting. It's the oldest of Alexander technique is known by musicians and dancers, professional classical musicians, because um, Alexander technique gets your body in very easeful alignment, so you can use your hands, fingers very freely. Dancers also use it so that they can dance without getting hurt. So I they don't do such a great PR job, but I it, uh, it makes the body feel really good and aligned easily. I hear the voice.
I'm, but what I mean is it just like a meditation technique
No,
or
no,
like a
no,
breath
no, no, no,
work?
it's body work, it's body work. So, you partly get on a massage table and you partly, the practitioner is, uh taught to be very free in the body and hands. So, for example, then you'll touch the back of the neck and everything will release in the person. So you um, reteach a person how to move in a way that they will be freer, aligned without any tension, and to be able to use their body in a much better way. So it's the massage table, but then you also um, teach a person how to sit and stand and walk. And so the hand, my hand, then becomes very, uh, it, it conducts, it frees up muscles. You learn how to do that, how to really help release muscles. A little different than Reiki because you're touching the person and it's almost like you're educating the body and how to move and be more free.
Okay, I mean, okay. Yeah, I honestly had no idea what it was. So that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
that clears it up.
so they're all very related, actually, the three body things that I did, and that's what I did for a long time after leaving uh, body work, you know, programming. Until, okay, how does I was adopting. I adopted children from China already when
Oh,
I was 48 and 50 years old. Because I got married pretty late. I had a little bit of a wild life beforehand.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and, so, when I was seeing the woman, she became a very good friend, but she was a psychic. I was seeing her as a psychic. She was helping me through the adoption process. And she said to me one day, "You have to work with pregnant people." And I was like, "What? Why me? Why me? I haven't gotten pregnant." And she said, "Well, because you'll have a lot to offer." And it didn't make any sense to me. Um, but she told me, even though it made no sense whatsoever, but I always took notes. You know, she talked, I would take notes. That I would teach parents how to talk to their babies while they were in the womb and even before they were conceived or after a miscarriage or abortion. This felt like gobbledygook to me. I just wrote it down. But m- sort of much, it ended up that I became a doula. I realized that the body work that I did was very helpful. I could touch a woman and she could be released. You know, it hurts less. And I, through one of my body work workshops, I learned about this woman that knew imagery. I had a real strong feeling that imagery would help in birth. That um, because I was fooling around with it already, I could imagine my arms being as long as the earth almost, and I could feel my back expand. So I knew that images would affect the body. That I was experimenting with a lot. And so it just made sense to me that imagery would help birth, but there was very little on it. Uh, I ended up learning about Catherine Shaneberg, who's an expert in imagery. And I went to her and I said, "Can you teach me imagery for birth?" She went, "Yeah, of course I can. I can teach, imagery that's good for everything." So I began working just by myself. And she finally said, "Claudia, I'm so much better if you get me a group. Get me a group of doulas." I became a doula. Um, and a doula is someone that accompanies a person during birth for her physical and psychological comfort, right? I don't deliver the baby. It, I know a lot about birth, so I can help and say, "No, no, that's normal. Relax. Don't freak out." you know. But with the imagery, I could help them calm a lot more, um, have short visualizations where they can become uh, they float and they become the water. The more relaxed you are, the less it hurts. Okay,
Of
so
course.
so basically, Catherine Shaneberg said, "Okay, get me a group." So I did. I got a group of doulas, an acupuncturist, a, s- a- a psychologist that worked uh, with people who were uh, having trouble getting pregnant. In any case, a group of us. I that's how I knew it was supposed to happen. So we worked for 7 years, every Wednesday except for the summers. 7 of us. Sometimes it would be eight, sometimes six, but most of the time, 7 of us. And we would bring in all the problems we would encounter at a birth, right? Or with a woman. And we started to test it right away. But of course, a woman is a human being. She has trouble with her mother or mother in law, or perhaps gets in a fight with the husband or one of the
Hmm.
children. So there's very short visualizations to deal with emotions, to talk heart to heart, to talk what we call through the ethers. So you say what you need to say in images or silently, really, mind to mind, and it has a big effect. So the dream birth imagery ends up being good for getting pregnant because there's exercises that help you get healthier eggs, get the sperm more mighty. Um, so it can help physically. It can help you at birth to be really relaxed, to be very. We have an exercise called sunlight oil that makes the whole, might be a little weird here, the whole vaginal area very oily, very slippery, expands
Hmm.
for the baby to come on out, exercises to help the baby get in the right position. And the right position is um, 95% of an easier birth. So there's
Oh
all,
god, yeah.
but what I've ended up doing with it is really communicating with the babies. When the mother or the father um, does the imagery, it gets you in a kind of very slightly meditative state, very relaxed. And when you're in that state, it's even you can take your eyes down, take a look at your baby. In fact, right now, I would say to you, you can do it with your eyes closed or open. And I might say to you, close your eyes, breathe out slowly 3 times, counting from 3 to 1, seeing the numbers. And now take your eyes over to your wife's body. She'll give you permission because you made the baby together. And go down, 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 down to take a look at your baby in the amniotic sac and say whatever you want to say to your baby. Just talk to your baby, telling him or her what you all that you want to say to your baby. Um, take a look, see if your baby wants to say something, and so you say, and then I ask you to either open your eyes or take your eyes back up. And okay, right now, were you being able to do this or you were just listening to my words?
I was trying a little, but I just am.
Yeah, but
I'm not. I'm not anything meditating. I'm not good at. It's just like my
well,
my.
actually, believe it or not, many people who are not good at it are good at this because it's quick, it's simple, and it becomes very fun because, well, first of all, you're running the show, so you can't really
Yeah, I mean,
you can't do it.
I'm def I'm definitely gonna try it. I'm definitely gonna try that later on tonight. That's for damn sure.
But for then we have an exercise called the garden. You go into a garden, you create the garden really, or it could be a garden you know very well, or you create it. But that's where you're going to um, imagine that the birth takes place because you're going to bring in people that love you, helpers, um, people that love you from the other side. You're going to invite all the doctors into the garden and see that light shines on them. They turn to light or they get filled with light. Everything they touch turns to light. Everything they do is done perfectly. So well, it makes the person feel very safe, but it also brings out the best in the doctor. I am not kidding. It really makes them do a better job. And so when you go to the garden, after you visited the baby, you go and visit the baby again and you ask the baby if there's anything they want in the garden that that's not there. Every baby, oh, way more than 300 at this point because there's many. I've attended 300 births, but I've helped many more. I've worked with many more people whose births I don't attend, but the babies, oh, I wish I could, I don't know if I can show you. Um, Babies want blankets. One baby wanted pebbles. And I
Sounds
said,
like my kid.
wait, what?
Sounds
Yeah,
like my daughter.
yeah. Well, actually, don't laugh because, or laugh. Uh, the baby that wanted pebbles was about 11 years ago. And last summer, his mother uh, commented something in my Instagram. And I remembered that her baby had wanted pebbles. Babies wanted bunny rabbits, my daddy, my sister, uh, swing, fish, but pebbles I had never heard. So I wrote to the mother. I said, "I remember your baby wanting pebbles. Is he into pebbles?" She sent me 5 photos. I have them in my computer. He, is obsessed with small pebbles and stones. He arranges them, on his little piano, in the car, everywhere. He has, arrangements of pebbles. And she says they can't go anywhere without taking bags that he can, fill them with pebbles and stones. S
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, honestly, if they want something as a baby in the womb that it's gonna be like an attachment type thing. I
Well,
mean,
they are already a full person. They already know what they're coming in for. They already chose you and your wife. They choose who they're coming to very consciously. And so that's how the book was written. Just I was hearing so many amazing things of what the babies were saying. So the book that I wrote is really
yes.
I don't know how yeah, messages from the womb. And it's really stories of what babies have said when they were in the womb, what they said before coming in, when they were just the parents were trying to conceive them, or if they left after miscarriage or abortion. So that's really the chapters and of what the babies have said, because the information was sort of mind blowing.
I
So
imagine.
yeah, so even though the imagery is to let the mother birth easier, right, with less pain, um, it becomes invaluable way to bond with the baby, with your other children. Are you okay? You're
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
okay. Um, so anyway, that becoming a doula led to um, conversations with these beings before they're born.
Interesting. And okay, I gotta ask though, because I mean, do you? Well, I'll start off with this one. But
Go ahead.
do you believe in reincarnation?
Uh, Completely. I mean, I can. Yes, I do. I do. I do. I do. And,
Have you seen proof of it? If you're able to talk to babies before they're even conceived, like is there proof in that of reincarnation?
well, okay. Um, Sometimes the babies will. Well, I have a woman who came to me. She has a 4-year-old. Yeah. Um, and he remembers not only his past lives, but his in between lives. He said to his mother, "Before I came in, I used to help doctors. I used to help, I would guide doctors." She said, "What?" "Yes, I would teach them what to do." Um, and he became friends with this little, I think the little boy is Asian. I don't know if Chinese, Korean. And he told his mother that, "I was so afraid I wasn't gonna find my best friend. I was so afraid I couldn't find him, but I found him, mommy. I found him. And don't we're exactly alike. Look how we look so much alike." Of course, that little boy is like blonde, blue-eyed, but he talks. Kids do talk a bit about other lifetimes.
Yeah, I've heard some famous cases and whatnot where like and I'm a full believer in reincarnation. I'm a full believer in it.
Mhm,
I believe there's an extraterrestrial element in some way, but
mhm.
that's a whole nother conversation. But I mean, yeah, but because you talk to basically spirits before they enter the body, like I had to like it's a question I had to ask because it's
Well,
just
yeah, and sometimes when a baby's coming in and, the conversation has been started, and sometimes one of the questions can be, "Have I known you in other lifetimes?" And they may show you quick little images.
hmm,
Maybe you were friends or they were the parent, anything, right? Anything is possible. So, um, I do, I do. I mean, I have images of what must be other lifetimes, right? I mean, of being beheaded, being burnt. Um, so for sure, I think, that's part of the
sound sounds like you've walked the spiritual path in a lot of lives, just not in the right times.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And, one time, I was seeing a woman, she no longer does that work, but she channeled what she called the group. She was a channeler,
Mhm.
and, I was getting ready to teach DreamBirth more publicly, so I was getting nervous, and I was getting images of, my head being beheaded, burnt at the stake, and I went like, "Oh boy, oh boy." So I said to her, "Can you tell me of lifetimes that were good?" You know, "Please help me out here." And, She said, "Yeah, I'm gonna tell you 3, but they're really were so similar." And it seems like I did this work where I help mothers connect with their babies, um, eh, several times. So the one time she pointed out was, I think, in Babylonian times. She said, I had, we were at the steps of a big church or cathedral, and lots of pregnant women, on the top step, were talking, and I'm teaching them how to talk to the baby inside and
Hmm.
um, how to get advice from the baby. Many times you ask the baby, is there any message that you have for your mommy? Mommy, please drink more water. Mommy, you've got to rest. Or the messages before they come in are to me the most fascinating because they're asking the parents to do bigger things. In other words, okay, today I had a session with someone. Um, she's going to be a single mom and through IVF. She has a donor.
Okay.
She lives in the Netherlands. And okay, so we talked to the soul and we asked if they had any advice for the mother. And they said, yes, you have to become softer. You need to become softer. Now she's, I think, comes from a somewhat judgmental mother or some mother who could be very judgmental. So she's, uh, um,
Guarded.
can have, yeah, exactly. That's a good word. And one of my favorite dream birth exercises to do is to ask the person to see their helpers, both ancestral or angelic. And especially after they've done it and can see or feel them, I often have the people ask for advice. So um, we asked her helpers what would help her with this problem with being more vulnerable. And they said, you already are soft. You just need to let yourself be soft.
Mhm.
So the things before they come in are, I need you to be happier. I need you to be softer. I need you to be not as scared, right? Once they're in, it's mommy, stop worrying. Mommy, be happier. Mommy, um, drink more water. But it's the babies that are giving advice before they come in that give the bigger asks. Because now with this woman, she can't be so guarded. It's not going to work. The IVF won't work.
Yeah.
S Right, so, um, it's
And that's a lot of money spent too for that type of treatment. Because I mean I was a test tube baby back in the 80s. So
you were?
yeah, I mean
Oh my
yeah,
goodness. Oh, wow.
yeah. My dad had cancer, couldn't have kids,
Oh,
so my parents had to get in vitro for both me and my
yeah,
brother. So
yeah, 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 yeah. Um, I mean, I've had the gift actually of working with a mother who was really quite gifted at talking to spirits. So most mothers go look at your baby. Does your baby say anything? Yeah, my baby waved. My baby smiled. My baby, kisses me. Or my baby, or the babies say fairly simple stuff. I mean, it's not, I love you.
yeah.
Everything will be fine. It's short. But with this woman, she's really quite gifted at talking for the baby or talking for my father when he visited, who's passed away. So when I worked with her, there was a baby. Oh God. Okay. I was her doula for her first daughter, and then she had a miscarriage. And it was this miscarried baby that became her guide and said to her, "You have to stop crying when I come. I'm not a dead baby. I'm a guide now. If you want me to come, I'm going to stop coming." So uh, um, we dubbed him for the time we worked together as baby teacher. Um, Fast forward later, baby teacher, then I helped her with her second baby as a doula. And then they moved away and she called. She says, "I'm feeling a little crazy. Can I have a session?" I said, "Sure." Well, baby teacher was coming through telling her she should talk to me, that she should. Anyway, um, when we had the session, because she kind of goes in under, and baby teacher comes through and says, Claudia, we have so many babies here want to talk to you. So many babies have um, want you to know things." But it wasn't quite like that. I had to ask questions. So
Hmm.
about the in vitro, there was a woman who was trying desperately to have a second baby. I'd helped her with in vitro with the first, with imagery. I didn't help with the in vitro. Um, and while I was talking to other babies, asking about abortion, what did babies do when the mother didn't want them, blah, blah, blah. I had questions I'm asking. And all of a sudden, baby teacher says, oh, someone's here. Baby John is here." He would interrupt whatever was happening. And he says, tell my mother I'm a boy. Tell my mother she needs a new egg. I'm a boy." And I'm like, who is this? Baby John. I don't know, baby John. And then he describes his mother. She's nervous, he says. She's very nervous. And I have a sister and I have a dog. And I go, ah, I think I know who he's talking about. And so, well, it turns out this little guy is willing to come in through in vitro, through donor egg, through surrogate. He says to us, "I don't care which vehicle I come in. I don't care which car I come in. I'm coming to her. I don't care which way I come in." So, You know, he did come in actually through surrogate, and he couldn't come in for a long time because all the um, embryos that we're making were girls. And I would tell her, I said, he's talking to me that he's not coming. He's a boy. He says he is a boy. And finally, he would show up in dreams. She was ready to give up, and she had a dream about this little 2-year-old. He would always show up as between 2 and 4 years old, and it was very alive. So she they decided to make another batch of embryos, and they managed to make a boy embryo. Um, and let me just think about it. They decided to use a surrogate. Um, The first time it didn't work, the second time it did, but I the surrogate needs to connect with the baby, the mother needs to connect with the baby. The baby said, "Yes, I'll be good for the surrogate and for my mother, for my true mother, and tell my true mother that she's my true mother, that even though I'll be in the surrogate, um, eh, it is she is my true mother, and that's who I'm coming to." So it's pretty fascinating work, actually. You were obviously quite motivated to come in because it's not so easy.
Yeah, no,
do it in
I
vitro.
can't imagine.
A little bit harder, we've been through time immemorial, we kinda know how to dive into, while people are making love, but, you obviously did it.
Apparently, yeah. I'm living proof.
Yeah, you are, so, some people say it's not so good in vitro, but from what I can gather from the babies, they don't care. They want to come in to a specific set of parents, and if that's the way they need to come in, that's the way.
I mean, much to my mother's dismay, because she wanted 2 girls, she got 2 boys instead, but
Well, there might have been a reason. How it's what's her relationship with the two of you? I mean, with you and her, with you and your
it's always
hmm?
it's always been decent. It's always been good.
And what about with your brother and your mother?
He's the favorite. It's always been great for him.
Aw. Is he older or younger?
Younger, he's the baby.
He's a baby. Yeah, but, with DreamBirth imagery, the mothers also talk to the older children, prepare them. We have, an exercise, an imaginal exercise. Um, uh, Basically, everyone's at the beach, then you go into the water, everyone becomes fish, including the baby. Fish, you swim together, swim together, swim together. And then you watch the baby who's going to be born or the baby who is born with the older ones, and you let them play together in your imagination. Um, but this seems to communicate it's going to be fun. Don't worry. Baby might be crying. I mean, because well, yours were separate in age. They weren't so close
Yeah,
together. So you don't have the problem when you have a 2-year old or 1.5-year old.
yep.
Hey, what's this baby doing? So you almost have to communicate with the imagery that it's going to be fun. So I love doing the work because it's fantastic, but I also love what I've learned from the babies and continue to learn. I mean, every time it's new, but the book is finished, so there's only a certain amount of stories.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because my mother could have used those exercises and someone like you when she was having us. Because literally the day my brother came home from the hospital, I pushed over his bassinet.
Yeah, yeah, no, this is new work, actually. I mean,
Uh,
some people have intuitively talked to their babies, but, um, they used to think babies didn't feel or think or see, that especially I think when I was in the 50s, 60s, babies were blank slates.
yep, basically.
Yeah, so, at least in my experience, that's not the case at all, and when the mother you'll experiment secretly, you don't have to do it with imagery. Just talk mind to the baby in the womb,
Yeah,
whatever's
which
yeah,
I like to think I like to think I do try to do that sometimes. Like
good,
just like
good.
not even knowingly, but I just try to do it sometimes. Like
It's
out
yeah,
of instinct almost. But I mean, it's just
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, and but I mean, I know like psychics, mediums, clairvoyants. They say everybody has some type of connection to the spiritual side, and that everybody has some type of ability. But can everybody do this? Is every
this
father,
isn't
every mother
actually,
capable?
this is yes, okay. Let's see. I'm going through. All right. Not everybody takes to it. Some people want it more scientific. No, I don't want to do that. But I would say, I mean, I've been at 300 births and probably have worked with another couple of hundred or more. Um, yeah, they can do it. They're very short. And if you were not doing the show, I promise you, you could do some of the exercises. I would bet money you would be able to do it. So it's not so, you don't get put under, you don't have to meditate hard. It's just 3, 2, 1, boom. Let's go into a garden. What does the garden look like? It, you know, in one of the podcasts, the question was, how would you describe to a third grader what you do?
That's actually a good question.
Yeah. And I went, well, I teach grown-ups to do what you guys do all the time naturally. Like when you're a little bored at school, you can go someplace, right? Go in your mind someplace. Easy. That's all that I'm teaching people to do. You go into a garden, you go, it's really, really, it's re-sparking the imagination. But but when you do it this way with dream birth, your wise part, your smart part seems to speak up, seems to give messages. So it's not as weird as it sounds. It's
Well, it doesn't sound weird to me. I'll just say that it doesn't sound weird to me because I deal in this world on a daily basis, so it doesn't. It's not out of the realm of unusual to me at all. I mean, it's normal. It's normal to me. Like,
yeah. And so I mean, sometimes just you're going to the garden and are there any little animals? Do they have a message for you? Does when Because they're short, you're not there very long. You do it quickly. Often there will be a message that is pretty startlingly wise. Like with this woman today, you need to be softer. Now that's pretty, heavy duty feedback, right? So, does the baby do it? Does her wise self do it? I don't know. I don't. I definitely think the baby is speaking because the baby that loved Pebbles, he still loves Pebbles. Why did he say Pebbles? The mother didn't. So,
exactly.
and many times, the mother will tell me, or the father, oh my goodness, he looks exactly like I saw him in my mind. So, um, what I do, most people can do. I mean, I lead it. Well, okay. It's easier, for example, if I'm giving the exercise than if they just read it,
Of course.
because partly because I so much believe they will be able to talk, that belief system gets into the field. I don't know how else to explain it. So when I do it, people can hear and see a lot. But I think that's because I now have a great belief that they'll be able to because I've seen it so much. So that helps ground that to happen.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's part manifestation. That's 100% for sure. And I mean, if you want to manifest something bad enough, it's going to happen.
oh, true. Absolutely. Absolutely. It will happen if you don't have conflicting beliefs about it. So that's sometimes what you kind of have to clean up. For example, if somebody has had a miscarriage or an abortion, they may feel very guilty. and won't necessarily allow themselves to have a good birth. So that's when I really find it imperative to go talk to that baby. Tell the baby, apologize to tell the baby why you did it, what happened. And most of the time, the baby is, I knew what would happen, or it's okay, I've moved on. Or sometimes you ask the baby, are you willing to come again now that I can have you? And the baby will say yes. So, but if you're feeling guilty about stuff, you sometimes won't let yourself manifest because you don't think you deserve. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
of course.
so sometimes I find that's the task. I have to unguilt a person, give them permission. And
Makes
usually,
sense.
yeah, and usually that can be done most with who they feel they've hurt. If who they've hurt says, I'm fine, I'm good, or then they're much better. They can
Makes
release
sense.
guilt. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I was waiting to the end of the show for this because I didn't want to throw this on people in the beginning of the episode, but I mean, we've all heard. We all heard like the rumors or what happens to these certain babies who fall under worse circumstances, such as miscarriages, abortions, and stuff. And I mean, the old Catholic ideology of they're in purgatory. Like how? I don't think. I mean, it's Catholicism. I don't believe a word they freaking say to begin with. But what what does happen to those unfortunate babies? Like what do those babies say?
Okay. Um, all right. Um, the story is in between, you know. It's not black or white. It's many other different colors. So when I talk to babies who had been aborted, um, some of them said, "Oh my, we went in because our mother was feeling so alone and unloved, and we knew that if we went in, she would feel our love, and we knew we would be aborted." Okay. They say we go right back to the light instantly. They're coming from the light, they're coming from a place, right? And they come in, and if they leave, they go right back. They go right back to, um, for the babies who still want to come in, it's almost like a giant womb. It's very loving. They have a lot of helpers. Um, Many of the babies that are aborted know they're going to be aborted, but they still come in. Um, some stay angry because they wanted to stay and they wanted to be um, coming in with that mother. And that takes some negotiating. Those, because you can't fake it. They have to be genuinely okay. So, as a practitioner, that's when it takes some creativity. With two, the baby calmed down when we asked the mother, would she be willing to have this soul again? Would the soul in another lifetime? And that's all it took. That's all that soul wanted. Um, you well, even I suppose Catholics believe that when you die, you go to heaven, or I suppose you go to hell. But there's a place, right? Things don't just end. We are forever.
Yep.
So, uh, the babies who are aborted, I'm stunned by the love that they have for the mother. They want to help the mother who's usually often feeling very lonely. I mean, I was. I couldn't believe what some of these little babies said, but basically they go right back to the light. And for them the light is very present. They're just they haven't even been born, so they're still in that place, right?
Of course.
So um so they go back to the place where they can then come in again to somebody else or to that mother, or they decide that they will be um, a spirit that still guides and loves the mother or the family.
Hmm.
Um, so it's not exactly how people think. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's they're still alive. They go right back to the light. They may depends on the soul. The soul may be angry. They really wanted to be born to that woman then. And so it takes some like with anybody, some talking it through. What can I do to make it okay by you? Do you know what I mean? And it's is this making sense?
yeah. Oh, it makes perfect sense. Honestly, I mean, it really does. I mean, I was just trying to think at the same time as if I've ever heard any stories of like baby poltergeist type activity. And I mean, I've heard of people say like, they've had experiences with like phantom crying in their house, and like sometimes it relates to them saying that they recently lost a child before it was born. And
That's interesting. That's interesting. That I would interpret as you need to talk to this child. You need to talk to the spirit. So, I had a woman, she was an OB who Irish, so Irish Catholic, who very late in her pregnancy found out that the baby was going to die very had incredible problems and would probably die within a few hours of being born. And so her OB friends really said just to abort. Okay, so she aborted. When she came to me, she never told me she aborted. She told me that she'd had a miscarriage. And even with miscarriages, I invite them if they want to talk to the soul that left. And she didn't want to. No, 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 just teach me how to have a good birth. So we did all the DreamBirth exercises for birth, for um, staying relaxed, blah, 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 all the ones that really help. And then one day, very close to her due date, she says to me, um, I lied to you. I, I aborted, and I feel like he's haunting me. He's haunting me. He's following me all over. So I go, well, okay. Um, we didn't need to call the baby. The baby was right there. So I had her just apologize to the baby, say everything she needed to say. So the woman's crying. I don't hear. It's mind to mind, right? I don't hear what she's saying. She's
of
just
course,
weeping and crying. And and then I said, ask the baby what it needs you to do. Okay, here's what the baby was saying. I'm not here for you. I'm here for my brother. I want you to love my brother with all your might. That's who I'm here for. I'm here for you also, but I'm really mainly here for my brother. And I want you to, because I think he also knew that she was guilty. So she wasn't going to be able to fully give herself enthusiastically in love.
yep.
And he said to her, I've forgiven you. I understood what happened, but I wished you had had me and had held me in your arms for a few hours. And so that's when the mother was just weeping and weeping and weeping. So, um, But he said, "But I'm gonna be around here for my brother." So, so that's not what she thought, but that's what she understood once she finally communicated with him.
Interesting. That's well, that's mind blowing actually. And kind of got me thinking though too. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, how does it work with like twins, triplets, that type of thing? Like, have you ever actually dealt with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had people with twins, not triplets. And also, I've worked with adults who felt very much they were a twin that got lost. So,
Yep.
again, look, you can talk to anybody. Did your father pass away?
My father, yeah.
Do you ever feel him around? Do you ever communicate with him?
Communicate, no. I've been told he's around by memes and psychics before, but I don't communicate with any spirit. I just get told there's a lot around me.
Well,
Anyway,
okay, and simply the communication is mind to mind. Uh, I'm sorry, I love you, I wish I'd met you, whatever it is. But it, so, okay, I was the doula for a woman who had twins. One of them didn't make it. She is now studying with me to learn how to do this with other women. She also is a yoga teacher and a Reiki practitioner. But with the work in the training, because she has to do all the exercises to learn them so she can use them with other people, um, she finally heard from the twin that left that, first of all, she's still around helping her sister and the mother, but that she knew one of the reasons she wasn't born is that she knew the mother wouldn't be able to handle. She was an older mother, also done through in vitro and actually a donor egg. And the woman was already 53 when she had the baby, or 54. That it was going to be much easier to just have one of them. So, but they're still connected. There's great. My father was a twin. They can finish each other's sentences. I mean, now they're both past, but you know, when you'd be with them, you didn't know why they were laughing. They would start something, and then they would both laugh, laugh, laugh. It was like a shorthand language. I,
yeah,
and I've had a lot of mothers who have a twin who they feel very, very close to. So, I suppose not all, but all the ones I have, most of them have been, identical, the
hmm,
ones that I'm thinking of. My father's, even though they were told they were not identical, as he got much older, I think they were identical. You could confuse them. People didn't always recognize who was who,
yeah, of course,
so they were close enough.
makes sense. I mean, they say that like they've always said like some twins like they can sense when the other one's like angry or like in danger. Like they had that like telepathic sense between them almost.
Absolutely. I think that's true, but you know something? It's probably true if you don't overthink it between you and your partner, between you and your kids. I mean, one sometimes does have a sense, but twins especially are very bonded that way. But
I mean, you spend 9 months with another spirit in the womb. Of course, you're going to be bonded to some degree. You have to be. It only makes sense.
yeah. And also, even before that, they chose to come together. It's quite something to come in as a twin. It's a choice. This is a little weird. My daughter, adopted daughter, but she's my daughter, Now she did her junior year abroad. She was a writing student, creative writing, and she went to London, and they were wait, let me just think here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think 6 of them were roommates. They got a 3-bedroom apartment, I guess, or 3-room, like having to go up 6 flights. So one of
Jesus.
one of them ended up she was quite rich. She said, "I'm just gonna pay more. I have to have my own room." So then the other 2 had the other room, and my daughter shared there were 3 of them. One was a triplet, one was a twin, and then was my daughter. And I thought, how funny. They don't mind being squished and all together. That's how they were in the womb, right? That it was just my she's my youngest daughter, is very gregarious, she loves, she doesn't mind being squished, but I just thought it was interesting that it was the triplets and the twin and my daughter that, were, because ideally, it was supposed to be 2, 2, and 2, but
Yeah.
then it was those 3 that said, "That's okay, we'll sleep in one room." There were 3 little beds, kind of like they were in the womb.
That's funny. It is. It is really funny. Well, Claudia, I want to thank you for coming on because it's been an amazing hour. It's been an amazing show. A lot of information here for my listeners. I think they'll really appreciate this episode, and it may help some of them in the future. Who knows?
Yeah,
But if they want your help, where can they find you? Where can they find your book?
okay. So, first of all, to reach me, my website is pretty simple. I'll put this so you see the name. My website is claudiaraiken.com. RAIKEN, claudiaraiken.com. My book is Messages from the Womb, and then I have my long name, Claudia Rosenhouse Ralken. Oh, look, you spelled it. There it is. Never mind.
Yep.
So claudiaraiken.com without the Rosenhouse. Um, you can get my book in Amazon, Barnes and Noble, where else? You can get it many places. If you go into my website, they'll tell you all the places, but Amazon has it. And if you do get my book and if you like it, say a few good words. Oh,
Mhm.
listeners. And obviously, if you're pregnant or want to get pregnant or have had a loss, DreamBirth Imagery will help. I can help. And reading the book will make you feel good and probably blow your mind.
I'm sure.
But
I'm sure. Of
yeah, it's a very loving universe in the end.
course it is.
Yeah.
And I yeah, there you go, guys. If you're interested in some help, go look her up. Her link will of course be in the description of the pod, like always, as I always like to do that for my guest. And you all know where you can find me. I mean, God, it's been scrolling across the bottom of the screen for all the watchers. Oh, listeners, it's in the outro. If you don't know by now, shame, shame, shame. And that's all I can say about it. But I will be back on Wednesday with another lovely interview, hopefully. And until then, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you very, very, very much.